What's up, guys? We're starting just a moment here. Lots of cool stuff is going on, as always, in the crypto community. So, we are live right now. Awesome. How are you doing, guys? It's Vitaly being here, founder of Bitcoin's Walls Club, with Today in Crypto Show. I am back. I've been 4 days in Bangkok, well, technically 1 day flying in the air because it's about 10-hour flight from here in Israel. I've been attending a block hedge conference with a number of blockchain related projects and meeting with DateMe ICO team. So I'm back full on track for the next couple of days until I'm gone again to Barcelona for a cruise with the Coins Banks, which is a big cruise with 100 speakers and 2,500 people there on the cruise, and founder of Litecoin, Charlie Lee, will be there, and a lot of cool people. So I'm very excited about that, and right now I want to share with you what has been happening in the crypto space to make sense with all the news in this market. And as you can see, the market is doing pretty well right now. It's been growing by pretty good numbers in the last week since I was gone to Thailand for a couple of days. Bitcoin is now trading at $7,283, which is way more than it was before. And the whole altcoin market has gained tremendously. We're seeing a $236 billion market cap right now. Ethereum has gained a little bit, Ripple, Bitcoin Cash, we'll talk about Bitcoin Cash today, EOS, Stellar, Litecoin, pretty much all of the top 20 coins. They're not getting there by chance. You know, they're very good projects. Ethereum Classic is rising by 9% in the last 24 hours, and overall we see a Holo 48%, Pundi X 16%, really cool. And the biggest gainers and losers, 79% for Bitcoin Dark, probably another fork for Bitcoin. There's so many of them. Bitcoin Cash was the first one, Bitcoin Diamond, Bitcoin Private, Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin this and that, Bitcoin Private, now Bitcoin Dark. Oh my goodness, you know, everybody wants a piece of Satoshi. So for the first news of the day, guys, the Bitcoin Cash fork in August 1st, 2017, we have now split Bitcoin into two, right? They have not been shown until now any significant difference between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash, apart from the transaction speed, right? The confirmation speed and the amount of transaction you can put in one block. Well, now they have performed for the first time a stress test on the whole network. In 24 hours, they've been able to basically generate 2.1 million transactions on the blockchain without any surge in fees, which is very good for the Bitcoin Cash network and showing that it is capable of scaling at its current capacity much more than Bitcoin. As you can see, Bitcoin Cash has been over 2 million transactions in the last 24 hours, way more than any other blockchain, more than Bitcoin, more than Ethereum, and that was only for 1 day, of course, just showing what it is capable of. And also what's interesting to note, number of transactions reached a peak of 25,783 per block, which is way higher than Bitcoin, which is about 1,000 to 1,500 transactions per block, right? About 20 to 25 times bigger. So all of that is good for Bitcoin Cash, and the big thing with Bitcoin Cash is it's faster and cheaper. Faster and cheaper, that's pretty much it, right? Which is not bad. You pay more in fees with Bitcoin than you pay with Bitcoin Cash, but the adoption is not quite there. A lot more people are using Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. And another thing to note for Bitcoin Cash is this debate that is ongoing and is heating up between developers and Craig Wright, who claims to be the original Satoshi, releases a Satoshi vision that's how it calls for this Bitcoin Cash client. And as you can see in the chart, 64% are using the Bitcoin ABC client, Another one is Bitcoin Limited, another kind of chain and split of the protocol of Bitcoin Cash proposed by another developer. And the Bitcoin Satoshi Vision is about 0.36% right now. But all of this heated debate between the developers in the Bitcoin Cash community is not really that good for Bitcoin Cash. So on one side, we see good news with performing the stress test, and another news are not so good for Bitcoin Cash because they are fighting with each other about the code to implement, which will result in further forks for Bitcoin Cash itself. So Bitcoin Cash was a fork of Bitcoin. Now Bitcoin Cash itself is going to be forked in November into several different Bitcoin Cashes. So funny world we are living in with the Bitcoin, right? Pretty interesting. Another piece of news today is all about the patent for blockchain. Now, China, as the country that is one of the most suppressive for cryptocurrency and ICOs and all of that crackdown from China government, nevertheless holds the most amount of patents for Bitcoin, for blockchain, not for Bitcoin, sorry, for blockchain, right? Blockchain technologies. And all of those countries racing, and those firms like tech giants Alibaba and IBM, they are racing to apply for the blockchain related patents. It is good for one thing. For another thing, it may be stifling in some way the innovation, because all of this legal action and people trying to steal part of the code from the blockchain in different industries, that may hinder in some way the prosperity, the flourishing, the thriving of blockchain related technologies because of those patents. I think it's a race of who is going to implement those blockchain technologies the best. And those patents, they're just piling up, and they just show you guys that everything is going to be run on blockchain technologies in the future. Now, regarding mining, a lot of people are bashing mining because the proof of work, how Bitcoin is being released, because it is very highly intensely energy consuming, right? Very consuming, a lot of energy, more than the whole countries like Ireland or Iceland or whatever, right? And those critics say it's not good for the environment. Where the thing is that miners are competing with each other in this competitive market of who is going to mine Bitcoins and get the rewards for Bitcoin, and they are forced to think about how they can lower their energy bills, right? And all of this leads to a lot more miners adopting greener technology, not burning coal and burning oil, and using those other sources, alternative sources for creating energy. That can be a good thing for the advancement of alternative, ways to produce energy, which will not become so much as an alternative by the main source for getting energy. So proof of work is getting greener, and we're seeing companies just like Fornew with KWatt, who is planning to create 20 different power plants that will turn waste, garbage, into energy, into electricity with those plants, which is good for the environment and good for mining Bitcoin. And with that, we are seeing a spike in the energy rate for the crypto miners. It's their bill is getting bigger because they realize that Bitcoin miners are taking their business basically from the core customers who are using the electricity. So all of those requests, and there are about like 2,000 megawatts requests of power that came, 75% came from cryptocurrency miners. So as a result, for this demand for energy and electricity, Grand Pod which is the commissioners of the Grand Country Public Utility District in Washington State, they approved a new rating for crypto miners. And basically they say because it's risky industry and blah blah blah, they're going to increase the rates for electricity. And I think this is a trend that will come not only in Washington but also in other states and also in other countries. The governments are not stupid. They're going to increase the rate. Those private companies that produce energy and electricity, they are going to increase the rates for crypto miners to get more profits from miners. And this is all dynamics into miners seeking the cheapest solutions for mining cryptocurrencies. And all of this will lead into increases also in the valuation of Bitcoin itself, because if it costs more money to produce a Bitcoin, then it's naturally that the prices of Bitcoin should rise as well. Now, what else we have today in the news? We are seeing blockchain is being developed in the voting system. Japanese city is actually successfully been able to conduct a voting experiment with one city, and I think it will just it's a race. Every city, every country in the very near future is going to run an election based on blockchain technology, because it's just way more reliable than anything else out there. Now Ethereum is smoothly want to transition from proof of work for consuming electricity in order to approve transactions onto the blockchain, and use proof of stake on the other side. It's a new consensus algorithm, and for this adoption, to discourage miners of Ethereum today to continue doing proof of work and mine Ethereum, they are going to implement something that they call a difficulty bomb with their next update, which they call Constantinople hard fork. Okay, and basically what it means is it will be increasingly unfavorable for miners of Ethereum to continue doing that, because the difficulty will explode. It will be way too difficult to mine Ethereum using the old methods, and everybody will be forced pretty much to transition into proof of work algorithm. So is it going to be good for Ethereum or not? Time will tell in terms of pricing. Today Ethereum is about $285. We'll see where it will be following the end of the year with the hard fork of Constantinople. Now we see opposition from the government, like in Russia, for example. They seized 22 cryptocurrency ATMs in 9 cities. So as the ATMs are booming industry, which allow people to transfer their fiat money into Bitcoin and vice versa, we see some opposition from the central banks. And this is something that stemmed from Russian central bank that wanted to confiscate those ATMs because there was no clear legislation yet in Russia concerning trading, mining, and all of that stuff related to cryptocurrencies. So it is too bad for the actual entrepreneur who installed those machines, because it seems like 6 months will pass until he's going to get some clarity on those machines. It of course costs him money to do that, but it is a constant, kind of like it's going to be like this. There's going to be some opposition from the central banking that it is disrupting their technology. Of course, it's a totally different way to use money. So they're going to do whatever it takes to stifle this growth and innovation, but not for long. Now Venezuela, it's interesting to kind of see what is going on in Venezuela, because it is the modern day equivalent to what happened to Germany in 1920s, with all of this hyperinflation that is supposed to reach 1,000,000% in Venezuela by the end of 2018. So people are freaking out. They don't know what to do. There's lots of riots, and people are just want to preserve their wealth however they can. There are lots of poverty right now in Venezuela, lots of hungry kids on the streets, and they issue their cryptocurrency, petro, backed by oil supposedly, but research reveals there is no investor in it, there is no oil to back it up, and there is no users. So it's, even though they are release some government programs to educate the public about cryptocurrencies, many people regard this cryptocurrency petro as a government scam, scam on a government level. So pretty interesting. But will we see in the future, apart from Venezuela, will we see other governments that actually will create their own coins or not? That's something that time will tell. But I know that India and Thailand central banks are already working on their own central banks digital currency. Maybe they will be leading the way for other countries to adopt the digital currency. But for me, the only way it is going to succeed for the public to adopt it is either a totalitarian regime, right, suppression, or it will be backed by Bitcoin. And Bitcoin is still remains the best cryptocurrency out there. Most merchants prefer Bitcoin over altcoins. If you take a look at those transactions and those merchants who are actually accepting cryptocurrencies, mostly they are doing it in Bitcoin, although it is faster and cheaper to use alternatives, to use Litecoin, for example, or to use Ethereum or Dash or other cryptocurrencies, right? But most people still prefer to use Bitcoin. It's most widely adopted. And a lot of people, as you can see, this consumers' attitude research revealed that 75% of consumers want the ability to use cryptocurrency for in-store purchases. They just don't have the option in a lot of the stores yet. But yet, because many people, many groups of people are actively involved right now into creating solutions in this space for a lot of merchants throughout the United States and throughout the whole world, to allow people to accept cryptocurrencies in all major stores, in all small stores, in every kind of store, right? So it is tightly related also to regulation. So the market matures with that, but solutions are actively being sought after and implemented in the space for accepting cryptocurrencies in the stores, and it will of course increase the adoption. The most active addresses are of course Bitcoin, Ethereum is second, and Litecoin is a large distant third in terms of that. But when in regards to fees, average transaction fees are the highest for Bitcoin and the lowest for Bitcoin Cash among the popular alternatives. Okay, so Bitcoin Cash is way faster and way cheaper, like I said, but still it is not as widely adopted and used. Bitcoin Cash, more people are preferring still to use Bitcoin than other alternatives. Okay, so pretty much we're going to have an awesome year, like I said many times. I think we're seeing a start of a boom, a bull run that will continue in the next coming months, of course, with its ups and downs. But overall, Bitcoin should be trading way higher than it is right now. There is all kinds of reasons for that. We have the ETF that is coming. We have from CBOE. We have the backed BAKTT platform launching by IC, which is huge news. More adoption, more institutional investors coming in, money coming in. So soon we'll see the price of Bitcoin jump, and with that the price of other altcoins will jump as well. And I predict there will be an altcoin season, which is something that I cover on every webinar. Altcoin season is an opportunity for basically multiplying your Bitcoin with a simple trade that lasts like a couple of weeks, usually following the peak of Bitcoin. So just like last year, I have a feeling that this year will repeat itself, and those people who will be smart enough to capitalize on it, to capture that value and multiply Bitcoin during the altcoin seasons, where a lot of altcoins are going to boom in their relation to Bitcoin. Those, they can see life-changing trades and life-changing results with that. So I'm looking forward for that and to cover that and give you tips and strategies as we approach that. It's going to be an awesome year, 2018, the finish line for the year at least. It's not been so great in the first 8 months, but it is going to absolutely explode and beyond the all-time highs that we've seen in 2017 this year. So patience makes perfect. And there's always a way to win in every market. So this is what I want to cover today, and tomorrow we have a big webinar planned for Bitcoin's Wealth community, where I'll go over details on how you can grow your wealth with cryptocurrencies. So looking forward for that, and until then, everybody have a fantastic